Good afternoon. Next, I will briefly talk about Stephen King and the film 1922 adapted from his book. Stephen Edwin King was born in Portland, Maine in 1947. He graduated from the University of Maine at Orono in 1970 with a bachelor's degree in English and qualification to teach at the high school level. In the fall of 1971, he began teaching English classes at Hampton Academy High School, the public high school in Hampton, Maine, grading in the evenings and on the weekends. He continued producing short stories and working on novels. In the spring of 1973, Doubleday Co. helped publish the novel Carrie, providing him with the means to live teaching and write full time. Since then, he had published more than 15 books and has become one of the most successful writers in the world. About the movie, we go back to a farm located in Nebraska. The main character is called Wilfred. He is a typical countryman who supports his manhood in the possession of the land and his work. He is accompanied by two secondary characters, his wife, Arlette, who is a woman frustrated by having had a son at an early age who seeks to overcome her idea of moving to Omaha in order to rediscover the city to which she was accustomed and offer a better future to her son. On the other hand, there is her son Henry, he reflects the influence of his father, and this leads him to base his personality and vision on the image of his father. Returning, Arlette received an inheritance of 100 hectares of land. Wilfred, for his part, already had 18 hectares of land and had the idea and those 180 hectares would be inherited to his son. This because he thought that the second most important thing in a man it was her son that heir. For her part, Arlette proposed that everything be sold and with such a large sum they could rise in a standard of living. She dreamed of opening a dress shop. Wilfred refused because in a certain way living here lands was living also that concept of mindless in view of Wilfred's attitude. Arlette suggested a divorce and clarified that Henry was living with her. Wilfred felt cornered and that it's when what he calls the conspiring man. Apparent, he identified the weak points of his son Shannon, his girlfriend, and she was the means so that Henry didn't want to live and supported him in addition to the idea of having to own lands. Wilfred planned everything and in conspiracy with his son they killed Arlette. The crime it turned out perfect. The film is called 1922 because was the date of Said Evan. At that time, the obstacle to Wilfred's personal fulfillment disappeared, but this event only triggered an endless tragedy. Some time later, Henry, tormented and seeking to save Shannon and his son, fled together. After the crime, he developed a certain coldness, robbed and attacked people in order to obtain economic and food support for him, for Shannon, and her baby. Finally, in one of those robberies, The girl was injured and died along with the baby. Henry, upon seeing that scene, I believe that his guilt was too great for what happened to his mother, and now for Shannon, that it represented a hope to free himself from his torments, he decided to kill himself. Wilfred developed a state that we could call dementia, or rather cult, after a rat bite. One of the hands had to be amputated, and that farm, for which he devised a wall-maker plan, fell down of neglect. Without his hand, he could no longer work. Finally, his farm was mortgaged by a loan that he clumsily accepted of desire to keep himself busy, which he interpreted as escaping from reality, and could momentarily Arlet's land was sold some subject for a very low price. Wilfred finally ended up without his land, without his son, and living in Omaha. The conclusion is sad. He believed that Arlette was the one who was going to end his life, but it was himself the cause. He saw an enemy in his wife, but the enemy was in the reflection of the mirror. Wilfred ends up confessing his crime in a letter surrounded by rats. I think that the rats are a metaphor associated with guilt. The ending is felt open. It does not conclude whether he is or not. It is at the discretion of the viewer. I believe that Wilfred is consumed by his own guilt and remorse. His death was slower, and he ends up becoming conscious and responsible for each of his actions. That was all. Thanks for your attention.